Hey, I'm Smirky, and the Challenger stage is now over, and that means we're moving over to the Legend stage. So I'm not going to waste your time, I'm going to jump straight into this. I'm just going to get the easiest teams out of the way. FaZe, Na'Vi, and Liquid will 100% go through to the playoffs. They have fantastic cores with fantastic structures, with a lot of players on this team having really unbelievable aim, such as your Kinder from Liquid, obviously Simple from Na'Vi, and so on. My next pick is going to be Heroic. Heroic showed some really impressive performances and results, beating multiple teams out of their RMR and Blast such as Astralis, OG, Vitality, Big, and ENCE. So Heroic going against the higher tier opponents, I don't think there's going to be much of an issue, and Heroic's opening game is against outsiders, which I think they should be able to take care of. However, may struggle against the top 3 teams like a FaZe, a Liquid, a Na'Vi, and so on. Their performance at the Challenger stage is a bit of a wake-up call, and is a very worrying sign. However, I think Vitality will make it through. Vitality have a lot of strong pieces. The duo in Dupree and Magisk, especially Magisk, has been looking really solid. And not to mention they have Zyru, who can easily take over a series. Again, leading up to the Legend stage, their results have been really sloppy, and have been taking losses they shouldn't really have. But with their IGL and Apex leading them, they should have what it takes to make it through. Ooh, now my next pick is going to be NIP. NIP surprised the CS scene by picking up LXCB quite suddenly. However, it hasn't been looking bad for them. From the demos I watched, LXCB has made a lot of fantastic mid-round calls that allowed NIP to secure rounds. With Hampus now being able to be that star player, opening rounds and creating a massive amount of space, along with Roland who's just an aim freak, this roster is really solid, and prior to the event to make them into Legends, they did beat Cloud9 2-1, which is pretty impressive for a new roster. I'm going to put Furia as my 7th. Furia have a lot of key pieces in this roster like Art opening up the round and Case Rota who's just been a beast, and of course Shure who has been performing exceptionally well against the higher tier opposition. The only team Furia lost to at the Challenger stage was against Big, however it was a pretty close affair on a best of 1 that went 19-16, which could have gone in the direction of any team. So with the crowd behind Furia and it being their home country, I believe they can make it through. Now, for the 3-0s and 0-3s. For my 0-3, I was kind of debating for a lot of teams like Spirit and ENCE, but from what they showed during the Challenger stage, I think it might be stupid not to put them through. I'm going to pick Mouse. During this event, Frozen has been looking at the true star of this team with his absurd rating of 1.23 and his impact rating of 1.19, which is kind of nuts. And of course, Exertion has been looking really good, especially against EG with his 1.7 rating. This team could surprise a lot of people and make it through 3-0. However, a lot of these guys' ratings do drop off a hill when they go towards the top 10, top 5 opponents. So again, when you have to verse a FaZe, a Na'Vi, perhaps a Heroic, that's perhaps where the cracks will show and where they could be exploited. However, I think it's a pretty safe gamble. Now lastly, for my 0-3. Again, I had a few choices in this like a Big, a Sprout, however I went for Bad News Eagles. Now, it's worth noting I am going to go for the coin, and one of the opening matchups is against Sprout vs Big, so easily one of those teams could be the other, and ruin my 0-3. However, Bad News Eagles is going to be versing Spirit, and I think Spirit should be able to take care of him. However, during the Challenger stage, they did get a few easy opponents like 0-0 Nation, who went 0-3 during the Challengers, and Big, who has a stand-in. To be fair, they did completely dumpster Gamer Legion. I also personally think BNE struggle against top 10, top 15-ish teams. So with a potential opening matchup against Spirit, which they can easily lose to, then potentially having to go up against a team like Outsiders, that could easily put them 0-2 and ready for an 0-3. Now for the other teams. I didn't pick Sprout because I felt like they were a bit too experienced, even though they did surprise everyone on the RMR, and potentially could do it again during the Legend stage. ENCE I'm not super confident on. During EPL they got completely destroyed by Heroic, Mouse, Astralis and Complexity. And the only higher tier team they actually beat recently was Big, who had a stand-in. So yeah, even though they have a lot of players I do really like Snappy, Valde and Diha, I'm not confident they'll make it through. Big, again, they have a stand-in and they're going to be versing against the higher tier dogs. Fnatic may be able to cause an upset like they did in the Challengers. However, these teams are really strong. And now for the black sheep of the Legend stage. Cloud9. Oh boy. They made it through to the Legend stage, but they have been looking really poor. They lost their opening game to Fnatic, which I'm not too worried about. However, they lost their game to Greyhound. And when watching the demo, their T-side on Dust 2 just completely failed. A lot of people, and myself included, like to think of Cloud9 where it's a lot of 1-3-1s, where you have players on the extremities and a pack in the middle. However, on their Dust 2, their default just failed, and there was no one on the extremities to stop Greyhound from pushing and taking complete map control, forcing them in a tiny little box to move in. To be fair for Cloud9, Shura has been looking outstanding, and Axel has been looking pretty good. However, from what I've seen, I'm just not confident they'll make it through. I'm hoping I'm proven wrong, but sadly for Glaze, it's going to be another Legend Stage finish for Cloud9. Apart from that, those are my predictions. Let me know if you have any disagreements, or if you would replace another team with someone else. Apart from that, thanks for watching. See you in a bit.